Back in August last year, Tesla CEO Elon Musk made a tweet that caused quite a stir on Wall Street and certainly caused Tesla's stock price to fluctuate pretty wildly. It simply said, quote, "Considering taking Tesla private at $420, funding secured." It was that tweet and those which followed which got Elon Musk into hot water with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the independent US federal agency that's responsible for enforcing federal securities laws and proposing securities rules, as well as regulating the stock market and publicly traded companies. In a court case filed against Musk last year, the SEC alleged that Musk tweets were, quote, "false and misleading," as a go-private deal never happened, and while Musk had said funding was secured, the prospective source of that funding, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, hadn't done anything beyond expressing serious verbal interest in a possibility of such a deal. As a result of that court case, Musk was ordered to step down as chairman of the board at Tesla to be replaced by an independent chair. Tesla was also asked to set up a Disclosure Controls Committee to oversee Musk's personal tweets relating to Tesla on Twitter. And both Musk and Tesla were fined $20 million in costs, although Musk actually covered Tesla's portion by exercising some stock options. It's no secret that the outcome of that court case displeased both Musk and many Tesla fans, with Musk himself calling the SEC the, quote, "short seller enrichment commission" on Twitter shortly after the settlement was agreed upon. Despite the agreement, Musk carried on tweeting about Tesla and openly admitted, on camera no less, during an interview with CBS's Gayle King, that his tweets were not being censored or moderated in any way. That upset the SEC a little, but then in February this year, Musk stated on Twitter that Tesla would be building around 500,000 cars in 2019. He later clarified this, saying Tesla would build 400,000 cars in 2019, but will be building them at an annual rate of around 500,000 cars by the end of the year. That pushed the SEC's buttons enough to get it to file contempt charges against Musk in the original case. It asked Tesla directly if it had been pre-approving Musk's tweets, and the answer eventually was no. Therefore, the court case continues, and today, in court, lawyers for the SEC said, quote, "The pre-approval requirement was designed to protect against reckless conduct by Musk going forward. It is therefore stunning to learn that, at the time of filing of the motion, Musk had not sought pre-approval for a single one of numerous tweets about Tesla he published in the months since the court-ordered pre-approval policy went into effect." Musk's counsel, meanwhile, is relying on the argument that Musk's tweets since the original settlement have not contained material information about Tesla, that he's diligently tried to follow the details of the settlement, and that the SEC is now trying to infringe on his freedom of speech, his First Amendment rights. In response, the SEC asserts that Musk's decision to decide himself if facts stated in tweets are material or not essentially makes the original settlement meaningless, adding that Musk's claim of First Amendment infringement is not being violated because he's not being prohibited from ultimately speaking. So what now? Well, the US District Court for Southern New York has to decide if Musk violated the original deal and if he is in fact in contempt. If it's found that he is, he could face more fines or perhaps forced removal from his position as CEO. Whatever happens, whichever way this goes, there are bound to be those who are upset on either side of this very charged case. But that's the actual mechanics of where things are right now. But what really happens next in reality? Well, that's slightly different. It's no secret that Musk has no love for short sellers or the SEC, and honestly, I can't see that changing anytime soon. Additionally, Musk is both smart enough and driven enough to circumvent whatever consequences are put in place. And while not everyone will agree with that, I predict that's the most likely conclusion, with Musk responding to any further restrictions on his role to become the blank of blank at Tesla, something he's already hinted and joked about in the past. I can see both sides of this argument. Should the SEC be tackling Tesla and Musk in this way? Yes, since it is its job to enforce current regulations and laws over publicly traded companies. But it also seems particularly petty in this instance. Sure, its job is to enforce the regulations, but it does feel a little less like a matter of process and more like a bitter battle between two enemies. The SEC has ignored far more from more companies in the past, so this just seems like some inside hatchet job. However, Musk hasn't hugely censored himself, and combined with Tesla's apparent change of policy or products at a whim on everything from Tesla store closures through to price increases and autopilot terminology, it gives the outside appearance of a company that's really not operating in a very coherent fashion. And that does ultimately affect share prices. Like it or not right now, Tesla does have a duty to its shareholders, and that requires some common sense operation, which right now, it could be argued, Tesla's not really practicing. At the same time though, without Elon Musk, Tesla isn't the Tesla that everyone has grown to love. Just like Apple has changed dramatically following the death of the late Steve Jobs, so too would Tesla change without Elon Musk at the helm. And in this case, I think the SEC would be making a massive mistake if it pushed for such a consequence. The best option for both parties? A lot more common sense and a lot less personal emotion. Musk does need to curb some of his cavalier attitude in regard to the SEC, and both he and the SEC need to stop being so damn adversarial to one another. Long term, Tesla needs stability, continued growth, and a more considered approach to both its company decisions, which means more communication internally before making external announcements, and its long-term goals. Elon may be getting the attention of fans by making frequent tweets on the company and being a reasonably easy to reach and talk to CEO, but in the long term, this is probably going to backfire. When you run a business and you're a public figure, what you say online has consequences, and that's something Tesla and Musk both need to remember and be mindful of. Ultimately, accountability is very important on all sides. It's not a sprint, but a marathon, and easily avoided conflicts like this are only distracting from Tesla's goal to push the world towards renewable energy and transportation, which I think you'll all agree is what we should all be focusing on. That's it. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.